How did the worst misunderstanding of your life lead to meeting your spouse? The building manager knocked on my door at 6 a.m. Sir, open up or we'll call the police. My neighbor hid behind him carefully, holding a binder labeled evidence. The manager cleared his throat. Sir, we need to discuss some serious allegations. We've received complaints of your stalking behavior. Would you mind letting us in? I was surprised. Stalking? No, I'm sure this is all just a funny misunderstanding, I said, thinking, what could I have even done that felt like stalking? Then let us in, he insisted coldly. They walked in and immediately started looking around. My neighbor pointed at my balcony. That's where he watches me every morning. Look, there's even a notebook. She grabbed it before I could react and started reading out loud. 5:47 a.m. She left crying. 6:02 a.m. She came back. 7:15 a.m. She looked tired, didn't eat breakfast. Her hands started shaking in fear. The manager frowned. You're documenting her routine? I shook my head. No, well, yes, but it's because this goes back 3 months. Every single day, she gasped, covering her mouth. My neighbor spotted my phone on the counter. Stay right where you are. Passcode now, he said, radioing security in case things went south. 2,352, I told him. They opened up my gallery and scrolled through the dozens of pictures from the park. She was in every single one. Oh my God, she said, showing the manager. He's been photographing me everywhere I go. The manager's expression darkened. Okay, I know this looks bad, but please let me explain, I begged. But my neighbor refused, pulling out more evidence, text messages from her friends. Look, he followed me to the pet store last week. My friend saw him hiding behind the dog food aisle. The manager studied the photos. He always asked me weird questions too. He's like, are you going anywhere overnight this weekend and stuff? Like, why would you need to know that? My neighbor was almost crying, and he somehow knew my mom was sick. I never told him that either. The manager noticed a suspicious bag by the door. What's in there? Wait, he opened it. Out came 5 different types of cat food with heating pads and antibiotics. They stared at it completely confused. I sighed. I've been trying to tell you guys, I'm not stalking. Look, I grabbed my phone and opened up the gallery again, zooming into the pictures. Each one had pictures of the stray cats my neighbor started taking care of a few months ago. The manager and my neighbor exchanged looks like I'd just made up the worst excuse ever. Right, cats, the manager said sarcastically. You expect us to believe you've been stalking her? For cats? My neighbor shook her head. That's sick, using innocent animals as your cover story. No, just look, I said, frustrated, grabbing my notebook. These are notes about cats. See? September 15th, orange cat's ear infection. October 11th, neighbor went out on a trip, fed the cats twice. Right then, the orange cat himself hopped onto the balcony wearing a cone and meowing loudly. Everyone froze. Oh, right, his antibiotics. I grabbed the bottle from the bag and slipped it into a juicy piece of meat. The manager looked completely lost. So this whole thing was actually about cats? I nodded. I heard you crying about your mom's cancer a few months back when you were worried about not being able to feed the strays in the neighborhood anymore. And honestly, I was kinda inspired. I'd never seen anyone so kind. So I started helping out whenever I could, I explained with a soft smile. My neighbor's eyes filled with tears. You did this because you thought I was kind? I nodded. You were so upset about not being able to help them, but you still came out at 5 a.m. the next morning to feed them anyway. You're the most amazing person I'd ever met. We stared at each other before bursting out into laughter over the entire thing. The manager cleared his throat awkwardly and said before leaving, I'm glad this is solved. I'll just, leave you guys to it. After that, my neighbor and I quickly became co-parents to all the stray cats in the area, then became real parents together years later.